All right, so we did our approach, we jumped, we got some trunk rotation, some trunk extension. The last, and I'd say least important, but it's still present, part of hip shoulder separation is trunk side flexion. Just give us we're gonna do a 2-3 minute video on that.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue I see, and once again, Miles is the expert when it really comes to volleyball. I'm just the biomechanist applying biomechanical principles to it. But when we get in too much of the lateral bends, if we go too far back, we're really probably just using that to create acceleration through the ball. And that's where it'd be a negative to me if I'm just trying to lean and then rock forward. I don't know how relevant that is to volleyball, but guys do that a lot in baseball, and it doesn't help because you're just trying to use your upper body. You're not using all that ground force that we were showing you was so important. You're kind of annihilating that to really just overemphasize the lateral movement.
Got it. So do you guys talk about when you're going into front foot strike, which is kind of like this in volleyball, are you trying to load with flat shoulders? Are you trying to get a little
there can be a slight bend.
Tilt?
You can be a slight bend, but it's just when it gets over exaggerated, then it's an overuse of one movement. And that's the hard thing of this kinetic chain is there's so many moving parts that we don't want to overemphasize one movement because because we're in a pattern overload, it will start to get worn down and injured. And in a way, if you're overusing a part. If you have an aching hip or an aching back shoulder, there's more than likely a pattern in your movement that's causing that's overemphasized or weak too.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's the extent we'll go over trunk side flexion. Just in summary, hip shoulder separation, we got trunk rotation, trunk extension, trunk side flexion. I also call it trunk twist, trunk bend, and trunk side bend. Those all have to do with the hip and shoulder joint. Now we'll go over the shoulder and elbow joint. Does that sound good?
But I'll add one thing to it just to throw it in there because there's 3 things you're really defining here: rotation, lateral bend, and then extension. Is I can see when guys overemphasize, say, extension than rotation. You might get a guy who comes up and he's more here than here.
Yeah.
Then once again, you're overloading one area and that start become an issue.
I haven't thought about it. I've always thought you just maximize all of them, but you're saying there's a balance.
Well, you're balancing each one.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing too, and this is where you have to go to an evaluation. So if I measure Miles' trunk extension, let's say it's something crazy like 70 degrees of trunk extension, which is really high. And then I measure his pelvic to shoulder rotation and say it's really poor. It's like 40 degrees, like 90 would be elite. I know he's gonna wanna do more of this because he has more of it.
Right.
So you also gotta be aware how all these components are being used is more than likely based on how your anatomy is moving, which we can improve through training. So
I see, so you'd program stuff to fix that imbalance, but for the meantime, you'd probably be okay with a little more extension until they get that mobility up.
Yeah, until you get it. So that's the other thing is when you're assessing your mechanics, understand you might be doing that if it's something you don't like because that's how your anatomy is moving at the present time.
Got it. Natural movement, always trust your body.